everyone. Happy Thursday. I can't believe it's Thursday again already. Welcome to So What, the Marketing Analytics and Insights live show. I am Katie, joined by Chris and John. Howdy,
Hello.
fellas. Oh, they got it. First try. Amazing.
I've learned with John, I have to go. Basically, there's a spot on my screen now, so stick my hand towards that spot.
That's where virtually is.
There's something very Pavlovian about that. Anyway, so this week we're talking about AI for business continuity planning. And, Chris and I have talked a lot about scenario planning and, internally we've talked about, what happens if for whatever reason one of us can't perform our duties. God forbid we want to go on vacation and actually be disconnected. What does that look like? I was having a conversation with some friends and, they were saying like as solopreneurs or very small shops, they don't even think about that. It's like, I do the thing and then that's it. If I'm not around, it doesn't get done. And that's just not sustainable. When you get into larger companies, a lot of times there are whole risk assessment teams who are putting this documentation together. But is there a better way? And today we're going to answer that question, Chris. Where would you like to start for AI for business continuity planning?
Okay, so, let's start with this. We have 5 scenarios that I've built out. 3 are macro scenarios, meaning big things are happening, and we should build some plans for those. And we have 2 micro scenarios, which are things that are happening locally, like I get hit by a bus, or something like that, which is not a big picture thing, but still impacts business operations. I do want to be sensitive to the fact that a lot of people are feeling, as you wrote this week's newsletter, Katie, a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed with things. So if you are in that emotional state, maybe just catch the replay of the show so you can fast forward past through some parts. So with that in mind, first we want to talk about what could we use to do this. There's a whole family of AI models, and this is where we get into the joy, right, of 1.39 million different AI models. The family that we're talking about today is a family called reasoning models. These are models that do a lot of thinking. And as we discussed on the podcast this past week, which you can catch at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast, reasoning models essentially do a lot of the thinking for you. So you don't have to say, let's do this step by step. Let's take a step back and think about it, or keep a scorecard of how you should think about this. The models do that themselves. For today's show, the 2 models that most people probably have access to are in ChatGPT, the O1 model is one of the 2 that you could use for this, or in Google Gemini, this is a mouthful, 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental.
I love when devs name things, by the way, because that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. If you're using a self-hosted version of DeepSeek, that would be DeepSeek R1 would be a good choice. But please make sure it's the self-hosted version, not the web service or the app, because none of your data is in that version is private.
So before we go too far, John, I want to ask you, what do you think is included for business continuity for marketing over coffee?
Oh, yeah. I am like the poster child for business continuity failure. I mean, my basic plan is always like, how do we get to lunch? Yeah, it's definitely the kind of thing where, your organization needs to be to a point where you have to have this to survive if something goes wrong. But below a certain point, you just have to accept that, okay, there's one key player, and if the key player's out, it's going to be down, and that's just the way it is. There's no other way around that. And yeah, marketing over coffee, while it's a strong brand and has been around forever, it is still a small business in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chris, where do we go next?
Next, mise en place. The ingredients that we need to do this. You're going to need a few different things. Number one, we've talked about this in many episodes in the past, are the knowledge blocks. So you need to have this written out about who your company is, what you do, who are the key players, right? So those would be important pieces of information to have in advance. And if you don't have that, now is a great time to put that together. That would be one of the 3 knowledge blocks that you need. So take some time to work out everything that you do for business. Number 2, you need some of your finances. Now, this is a very sanitized list, hence the name.
Thank you.
Just in our case, just the percentages of revenue we get from different clients and things like that, not the actual numbers nor the client names. However, if you're using a protected system, meaning that you, for example, in ChatGPT, you've turned training off. You're using Google Gemini, you're using the paid version within Workspace, not the personal version. You're using R1, it is your self-hosted version. You would want to have this because you want to know kind of what your operational risk portfolio looks like. Even before getting into the actual scenario planning, I mean, just this alone is a good thing to have to say, like, are we too dependent on one category, on one industry, on one client? I mean, we've had the case in years past where we've seen agencies that have like a flagship client that's 70% of their revenue, and when that client goes away, the company's in a lot of trouble. And then the third ingredient is anything you have documented about your operations. How do you do what you do? So I have like a lot of our marketing written out. You would want to have documentation across the company. So how do you do your operations? How do you do your standard operating procedures? We were talking before the show about building standard operating procedures. If you have a handbook, John has the Trust Insights sales playbook of how sales works at the company. You want to have all those things gathered up and current to be able to do this kind of scenario planning. Because if you don't have it, you're going to have blind spots.
It makes sense. And I'm assuming, Chris, that you used generative AI to put these knowledge blocks together. You didn't just sit there and just write from memory. I think we do this, and maybe we do this.
Believe it or not, I didn't write it. I did while I was on the treadmill the other day. Or, well, this document's a little bit older. When I'm on the treadmill or the elliptical, I have my phone. I have voice memos on, and I just foam at the mouth, like, "Oh, we did this. Oh yeah, for events we do this." And I remember, oh, that one time we did this, and it's just stream of thought. It's messy. It's so messy. But when you hand it then to a generative AI tool, you say, "Hey, could you clean this up?" This would be, a good thing to do. And it does. So it comes up with a coherent version of all the rambling that you make. But great way to multitask. If you're on the treadmill, you just do the thing and there you go. So the next thing we're going to need is scenarios. We need to decide what we want to plan for. Now, I have some pre-written, but I want to hear from both of you. What are some scenarios that are on your minds that we might want to think about? I will show you one right away. Because I think it's pretty obvious. Let's see if we can make this a bit bigger. Scenario 4, the bus problem. Trust Insights has a team of 4, and each person's role is essential to the smooth operation of the company as a whole. Katie provides leadership, strategy, management, finance, and operations. Chris provides data science, AI, code, data, and client SOW execution. John provides sales, business development, client upselling. Kelsey provides operations support, sales support, and client services support, including account management. In this scenario, assume Katie gets hit by a bus. Oh.
Bye, guys.
And is out of commission for 2 months. During those 2 months, she was fully unconscious for the first month.
That sounds lovely. Wait, no, take that back, Karma. I'm knocking on wood. But this, at the very least, this is the scenario that companies should have some kind of a plan for. It doesn't have to be like hugely detailed. Like, so, it could be as simple as, okay, I'm out of commission. I'm putting Chris in charge. What does Chris need to know to do the bare minimum of things to keep to keep the trains moving forward? What can wait, like that kind of stuff. So this would be my first scenario that I would always go to is people. The second scenario I go to is platform. That's the second thing that I think about, because if we as a company become overly reliant on any one platform, and for us, perhaps it's our CRM, perhaps it's our email marketing system, perhaps it's a version of generative AI. What happens if and when that particular software is out of our price range, no longer does what we need it to? And we've talked about this on a different live stream, but that would be the scenario I would go to next. What about you, John?
It's funny when you kind of throw that out, because there's different ways to think about, do you think about all the different systems, the approach that you take, or is it a matter of do you line up people to put it together? But yeah, I would just fall back to 5P. I mean, that's you've got the right move there, because it at least gives you some place to start, and later on you can pick at it and see what stuff you've missed, but at least gives you somewhere to get going.
Mm-hmm. I think another scenario that, hopefully doesn't happen, is, our accounts are hacked and all of our money is taken. So, or
Data
we go
breach.
bankrupt, or whatever the thing is. Like, so a financial scenario of, like, you no longer have the funds to keep things moving forward.
We have a scenario like that at the macro level set aside. So,
but yeah, so those would be the ones that I would focus on personally.
Got it. Okay. So the next thing we need then is we need a prompt. And the prompt structure that we want to use is the Trust Insights Prism framework. And the reason for that is because we're using reasoning models. You can get a copy at trustinsights.ai/prism. I'm not sure if we made a banner for that yet or not. But a Prism prompt has 3 big pieces. The 3 big pieces are: what is the problem that you're dealing with? Then what is the relevant information, which is where all of those knowledge blocks come into play? And then what is the success measures? How does the model know that it did the job? So we've got the scenarios written in a separate part of the document. We start with the problem, with the scenarios will be included here. The relevant information. How do we define impact, right? Impact is people. Impact is financial. Impact is operational. For the scenario, what are the direct and indirect impacts of this thing? We want to produce 4 different scenarios. Katie, this is one of your favorites. This is, what is business as usual? What is it gets a little bit worse? What is it gets a lot worse? And what is it gets a lot better? Planning through that. And then we have by team. What should our teams be doing in this plan, right? What should business development and sales do? What marketing and client services and operations? And in our plans, we should have things like timelines and deliverables, action items, user stories. And of course, we should use the Trust Insights 5P framework.
Yes, we should.
Yes, we should. So all that is the relevant information, the background information that a reasoning model would need to know to do its job. And then the next step is, here's how we want you to produce the results, right? It should outline the impacts first so we can understand what's going on. Then, plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and stuff like that. So do you want to start with a macro or a micro, Katie?
Let's start with, since it's our favorite, let's start with the hit by a bus scenario.
All right. So let's go ahead and do you have a preference for which model family you would like to use, Gemini or ChatGPT?
Oh, that is not a question for me, sir. Consider me hit by the bus already.
All right. In that case, let's actually, you know what? Let's do a little bake off. And see who does best with each. So there's our scenario.
Yep.
And then we're going to dump our prompt in, and then we're going to upload our, where did they go? I had those PDFs here earlier. What did I do with them?
Scenario 7, someone who isn't Chris has to navigate his computer.
I don't know why ChatGPT can't see. Oh, that's right. O1 can't process PDFs.
All right. Well, I guess that ends the bake-off. The oven is off. That was easy.
Oh, O1, you disappoint me.
Well,
all right. Let's put in these pieces and then bring in our PDFs. And we're using Gemini Flash 2 Thinking, experimental. And let's begin with scenario 4. And scenario 4 is the bus problem, which is what we've named it.
If it doesn't immediately return with, "Oh no, I hope she's okay," then I'm going to be very disappointed.
The reason we use reasoning models is that it essentially behind the scenes is first thinking through and trying to work out its details, right? Trying to think aloud by itself before it spits out its results. And that's what a thinking model does. It can take quite some time to come up with a result. So scenario 4, the bus problem. Katie's out for 2 months. Impact, direct impacts, leadership vacuum, the CEO level. Let me make this just a little bit bigger here. Increased burden and stress on Chris, John, and Kelsey to cover Katie's wide range of responsibilities. Potential team anxiety and uncertainty about direction. Potential slowdown strategic decision making, which could impact long-term financial planning. Operational inefficiencies. No immediate direct financial loss unless operations significantly falter. So those are all the direct impacts on us. Indirect, team morale could decline if transition is more poorly managed or workload is unsustainable. Risk of burnout. Yep, John and I are out. Peace out. Longer term financial impact, loss of new business, if sales efforts are negatively impacted by operational disruptions, operational necessary to reach tasks and responsibilities. Direct impact for clients. Clients might be unaware of internal changes. The service delivery remains consistent. If the quality declines, communications falters, clients could be impacted. Mm-hmm. Project timelines, possible delays in deliverables. Indirect damage to Trust Insight's reputation could indirectly affect client confidence and willingness to recommend us to others. So with that, we go into the plan. So plan A, business as usual. Katie just leaves for 2 months because of being hit by a bus, and things just keep chugging along. Chris takes on CEO responsibilities, delegates Katie's other tasks among John and Kelsey based on their strengths. I don't know if that's such a good idea, but
well, I guess, I mean, I don't know. Guess I got to look both ways right now.
Yeah. Team actions per team. Business development sales team, John. As the sales team, we need to continue our sales efforts without interruption and maintain revenue generation, pipeline growth. Mm-hmm. Your usual deliverables. As the marketing team, we need to ensure all scheduled marketing activities continue to maintain brand presence and lead generation. Client services, we need to deliver all client projects on time to the expected quality to ensure client satisfaction. As the finance and operations team, we need to smooth financial and operational functions to support the business without disruption. That's no impact. Moderate impact. Minimize the disruption to core business functions. Prioritize critical tasks. Again, for some reason, it's picking me as the acting CEO. I guess because I'm the co-founder.
Makes sense.
Clearly define temporary roles and responsibilities. Critical prioritization. CEO stand-in channels. Project, tracking project delays. We need to manage client expectations and adjust sales timelines if necessary, focusing on maintaining key client relationships and pipelines. So not just saying yes to all sorts of things. Focusing on essential marketing activities, proactively communicating with clients about minor delays and managing project timelines, and then ensuring financial stability and operational continuity with some minor adjustments. Plan C, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Contain damage and prevent total business collapse. Stabilize operation and retain as many clients as team members as possible during the crisis. Chris struggling to lead under pressure. That's accurate.
All right. So we should plan for plan C. Got it.
And a stressed team. Consider bringing in an external consultant for crisis management guidance if feasible. Right? That's a reasonable thing to do. Implement emergency decision-making process. Chris becomes the primary decision maker for urgent matters. Establish crisis communication channels, minimize client attrition rate. That is the top priority. Keep the business operating. Shift focus to client retention and damage control. Pause new sales efforts and address immediate client concerns. Communicate transparently about operational challenges. Maintain essential communications. Communicate proactively and honestly with clients about project delays. And then manage potential financial crisis. Ensure essential operations continue under duress. So that's what happens if the wheels come off the bus.
Okay.
And then D, best case scenario, everything improves. Katie's like, I'm on vacation after this.
Yeah, I'm out. You guys don't need me.
Turn a challenging situation into an opportunity for team growth, process improvement, and enhance client relationships. Empower the team and demonstrate resilience. Chris, John, Kelsey, and an empowered team recognize and reward team members for stepping up and taking ownership. Delegate decision-making effectively, empowering John and Kelsey in their respective domains. Utilize collaboration tools for shared decision-making and process documentation. Enhance use of dashboards, knowledge base, recognition and reward. And then measure and demonstrate improved team efficiency. So User stories. As a sales team, we need to leverage the team's resilience and adaptability as a selling point, showcasing the company's robust and dependable nature to clients and prospects. The marketing teams create content that showcases the team's strength and adaptability, building a positive narrative around the company's resilience. Client services, we need to exceed client expectations through proactive communication, project delivery, and showcasing enhanced capabilities and ownership. And financial, support team empowerment initiatives, document and codify process improvements, and ensure smooth operations to facilitate a period of positive growth and adaptation.
I mean, honestly, that sounds lovely. I'm going to step back and just let that happen.
Yeah, right. The fact that
Sounds like no.
we'd be doing more dashboarding and process if Katie got hit by a bus. That's the greatest hallucination I've seen this week.
So I find this to be really interesting, but let me not jump ahead because I do have a big question.
No, this is the time for that.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if I was going to get ahead of like what was next, but what I'm missing from this business continuity planning is this is outlining the scenarios, but it's not giving me a list of things that I need to put together in the event of one of these things. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So where some of this came about was I was thinking about something I'm like, what business continuity plan do I need to put together? And really it's a checklist of like, here's where all my passwords live, or here's, my criteria for decision making on scopes of work, or here's my process for running the weekly team meeting, or whatever it is. Like that to me is what's missing from this, because this outlines the scenarios and what could happen. So what do I need to do today to prepare in the event that something like this happens?
So let's ask it. We're going to say, build a checklist of the required materials, data, knowledge, and operational procedures to manage. Let's start with plan B, the moderate impact one. And let's see what it comes with. Show this by person for what each person will need to stand in for Katie while she's out of the office. Now let's just see what it comes up with in terms of a useful, usable thing. And again, remember, we did not upload all of our SOPs and things, so right. we're working with a slimmed down list.
It's also interesting, that you said what you positioned it as this thing is happening, what do people need to do, versus the way that I would look at it as more proactive, what needs to be done now ahead of this happening in case we never need to use it.
Right. Okay. So let's see. Materials, strategic plan document, KPI dashboard, strategic initiatives, Katie's notes and upcoming strategic priorities, data, data financial performance reports, current sales pipeline report, current metrics, CSAT, NPS data, our 3 and 5 year strategic goals, responsibility, urgent decision-making, high-level oversight, emergency contact list for key personnel and external advisors, pre-approved templates for urgent communications, real-time product status dashboards, financial oversight, access to the financial management system, list of key financial contacts. Who do we talk to? Like, hey, accountant, and so on and so forth. And then we have the same thing for John in terms of the things, the systems he's going to need access to. If you may need additional training on parts of the CRM, client escalation procedures, client communication protocols. And Kelsey, same thing. Here's the case. Kelsey's going to need things like the SLAs or the MSAs, contract details, all that stuff.
Okay. That to me is more helpful. Like it's helpful to see the scenarios of, if worst case scenarios, what's going to happen. So my next question naturally is then, okay, what do I need to prepare and have basically in my file folder that lives on my desk that says, in case of me getting hit by a bus, read this. And then you open it, it's like, okay, here's everything.
Yep. So that's what this effectively is. This is the laundry list of stuff that could be in that folder.
Yeah. All right.
So that's micro scenario number 1, which is the bus problem.
Okay.
What do you want to tackle next?
Well, then let's try a macro scenario. You said that you had a scenario outlined for financial instability. So since that was one of the ones I flagged, let's go ahead and do that.
All right, let's do this. This is
I'm not looking forward to it, but let's do it.
This is going to be scenario 1, the tariff showdown. The United States
boy.
government has implemented tariff for 25% goods on so on and so forth. Retaliatory tariffs are in place. They affect a wide variety of imported and exported goods. So here's the scenario. And we're going to follow the exact same prompts. The rest of the prompt structure is going to remain the same. So we've started a new block here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put in our same knowledge blocks. And we're going to let it do its thing. Go. The model is currently thinking behind the scenes, which always looks like fun. All right. Direct for trust insights. Minimal impact on employee lives initially, potential for increased anxiety and uncertainty, of course. No immediate direct cost increase. Trust insights is a service-based business, doesn't directly import or export goods. Potential indirect financial impact via client revenue changes. Operational. No immediate direct operational changes. Potential for increased client inquiries about economic impacts and requests for relevant data analysis. That is interesting to me because that's one of those things that stands out as, is that something we should do proactively? For our most valued clients, like, hey, here's how this might play out.
It's definitely something that we can put on our backlog of things to think about and then bring up in client meetings. Because again, this is, if we're thinking about potential things that could happen, this would fall into their scenario planning. And us as their data partners should be providing that information so that they can get ahead of one of their own ABCD scenarios.
Exactly. Indirect impact, increased workload for client services and sales teams to address client concerns and potentially changing client needs, employee stress, potential decrease in client budgets and retainer revenue. That's a very realistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Clients in heavily affected industries might reduce marketing spend, potential increase in demand for services that help clients navigate economic uncertainty, market analysis, forecast, cost optimization, data-driven strategy adjustments, operational, adapting service offerings, and shift in project focus towards cost optimization and supply chain analysis if clients ask for that. Clients, direct impact, job insecurity, increased consumer prices for B2C companies, increased costs for anything in those supply chains. Indirect, of course, consumer confidence would slow down consumer spending, and that would have impacts. So the 5 Ps and in plan A, little to no impact. It's business as usual across the board. Just keeping things running. Having a good content calendar that maybe speaks to some of this stuff, just to let people know we're on the ball. Moderate impact, moderate economic uncertainty, navigate potential challenges, adjust marketing and sales messages to address economic uncertainty. For sales, I want to proactively reach out to clients and prospects to understand the concerns and position us as a partner to help them navigate economic uncertainty. So we maintain and potentially grow our sales pipeline despite the changing climate. Marketing, creating more content about that stuff, how data analytics can help mitigate risks and identify opportunities. Client services, engage with existing clients, help them optimize their strategies. So we reinforce client relationships. And then finance and operations, monitor key financial indicators and client payment patterns to closely identify any early signs of financial stress due to tariffs and adjust financial forecasting accordingly. Plan C, the wheels come off the bus, significant economic downturn, focus on cost containment, client retention, service to immediate client needs, implement strict cost control measures, prioritize client retention and essential service delivery, aggressively market services relevant to cost optimization. As a sales team member, I want to focus on retaining existing key clients and target recession-resistant industries with services focused on efficiency. So John would be going after folks who are like, we're not going to be impacted by this because we don't import anything. Marketing, shift content focus to topics relevant to that, of course. Client services, prioritize excellent service for key clients, be flexible and adaptable to their changing needs, adjusted service packages and pricing, payment terms to retain critical accounts. And then finance, strict cost control measures, manage cash flow tightly. I'm not sure how much we could manage it.
I mean, my knuckles are so white because of how tightly I manage our finances, but I'm okay with that. It's funny. I already operate as if today is going to be worst case scenario. So yay me.
Yeah, you.
Yay. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that is how I operate.
Exactly. And then plan D, things get better. Capitalize increased demand for data-driven insights in a volatile economic environment. Position Trust Insights as the go-to partner for navigating complexity and identifying new opportunities arising from economic shifts. Changing our sales messaging to emphasize value proposition. Targeted outreach campaigns for data-driven adaptation. Marketing and so all those recommendations are pretty much the same now. As we did earlier, we're going to ask, give me the required checklist of things. Show me these checklists by person. So we're going to ask it the exact same thing as to what are the nuts and bolts that we're going to need. So thankfully, no one's in the hospital this time.
Nope.
Updated sales presentations, client crisis sales messaging documents. I went with worst case scenario on this one.
Yeah.
Recession-resistant target sectors documented and shared. List of key clients CRM data segmented by industry to identify those sectors. Client revenue profitability data. Just general knowledge, operational procedures for what we need to do. We have marketing team members, leadership, revised content calendar, web analytics dashboard, configured to track traffic and engagement on recession-related content. That's interesting. Client services, list of key clients, project adjustment request forms. So pretty thorough in terms of revised budget template for worst case scenarios, revenue scenarios. That's a decent list of here's all the things you'll need if this happens. You pull this plan off the shelf and say, all right, here we go.
Can it give me a list of tasks to do in general? So, we don't know which scenario is likely to happen. So can I get a baseline of things that I should have ready? I mean, and the good news is I likely already have all of those things, but what am I missing? And if we had more time, I could give you all of that in a knowledge block.
Right.
But I'm curious to see if it's going to say, oh, you need to have the following 3 things and then you're good.
Let's see. We'll ask it for the foundation, tasks, and materials. So universal materials and documentation, company directory and contact info, emergency communication plan, IT disaster recovery plan, financial contingency plan, client communication guidelines, standard operating procedures for core services, data access and security protocols, the 5P framework, real-time financial dashboards, CRM, centralized CRM, which we do have, project management system, which we do have, employee skills and responsibilities matrix. So we have that written down anywhere. Vendor and partner information database. It lives in a bunch of different places. Cross training across key roles is a big one. Familiar with the plan. Does anyone know what the plan is? Remote work and collaboration. Understanding of core services offerings and value proposition. Regular data backup, system maintenance procedures, review and tests of disaster recovery. Annual business continuity plan review and update, regular team meetings, financial monitoring, client feedback. So those would be the things that would be foundation materials.
Which totally makes sense. So then, you have all those foundational materials and then, you wake up, boom, one of those scenarios happen. You just mix and match and put them together like, okay, this scenario happened. What the heck do I do?
Exactly. It's like a football coach's playbook. Okay, this is happening. Go to play this play. Or an airline pilot, you say this is happening. Open up the quick reference handbook. Go to page 72 and follow the checklist.
I don't think you should be allowed to give sports references anymore.
Probably not.
Probably not.
I was thinking more of a pilot being like, "Oh, fire coming out of the engine. What page?" Go
yeah. What is that under fire or C for
fire
combustion? Oh goodness. Okay, so let's do another one of your micro scenarios. I'm curious to see what you put. I'm curious. I'm nervous, but I'm curious.
All right. The
We've gotten through the
micro
big ones out of the way.
The micro scenario is scenario 5. We're calling it Spider-Man Far From Home.
Okay.
And this scenario is in this scenario, Chris travels frequently all over the world speaking at conferences and events. There's an immigration snafu, and Chris is not permitted to re-enter the United States. He has to remain in Canada.
Bye, Chris.
Bye. But I'm not dead or like this,
Or unconscious.
Unconscious. I'm just.
I mean,
not
if you have
able
your
to-
laptop, you're good. I don't even know
Pretty
why we're
much.
talking about it.
So wait, this is where Katie and I get a ragtag team of mercenaries in a van, head into Canada. This sounds like a fantastic movie.
I think we need a different kind of skills matrix. That's for another show.
Skills.
that really is. Oh my goodness.
Although I do think a future episode could be how do you put together a skills matrix?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll write that down.
All right, so we have our scenario 5. Chris is directly impacted by being unable to return from home, causing personal stress and displacement. Katie, John, and Kelsey will need to adjust workflows and take potentially responsibilities to cover for Chris's physical absence, potential disruption of project timelines, cancellation of speaking engagements resulting in direct revenue loss. Yep. Inability for Chris to perform core duties could impact client satisfaction. Indirect team morale might decrease if workload increases, potential for burnout, and so on and so forth. I'm in Canada. I'm not like in the middle of the ocean.
There's no phone in Canada.
Exactly. Canada has the internet. So we have business as usual, maintain normal business operations. The immigration issue is resolved quickly, and so on and so forth. Plan B, moderate disruptions to client projects due to Chris's extended remote work period in Canada in weeks, adapting workflows and communication strategies to maintain service delivery. Proactively communicating delays, rescheduling or convert to virtual any affected speaking engagements that would be relevant. Project-related tasks can be handled remotely, and then monitor and project progress, billable hours, and potential revenue impact due to delays. Worst case Chris never comes home. He's stuck in Canada forever. Emergency project triage, transparent communication, cancel or postpone speaking engagements, or I guess rearrange flights, assess project criticality, communicate significant delays, and so on and so forth. Base case scenario, we just, I don't know, base ourselves out of Canada, I guess.
Right. Chris's poutine consumption increases.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to say, that's an interesting one. Like, yes, you're stuck in Canada, but your prompt didn't say, but then I also have my laptop and internet, and to me, that's you still have to do some like business continuity planning because it's not going to be seamless, but it's not like me being unconscious for an entire month and unable to do anything. You at least can type things.
Exactly. And I think the nice thing about the framework is that that would fall under the relevant information of here's the way the company is set up, to understanding we're a virtual company to begin with, so we didn't specify our operations in the relevant information section. Right.
All right, you're not getting out of it. You have to have a to-do list as well.
All right, let's see what Chris has to have for a to-do list to manage Plan C, where Chris is stuck in Canada for an extended period of time. Show the tasks and checklists per trust insights. Let's put that in.
While you're prompting, shout out from YouTube that poutine rules. Just putting that out there.
I mean, it is delicious. Especially in Montreal, there's a place that has teriyaki poutine. It's amazing.
Yeesh.
All right. Requested materials, data, knowledge, operations procedures for Katie. Crisis communications plans, financial contingency plans, legal counsel information, current financial statuses.
Put that lower on my list. I'm not working to get you out. You can stay for a bit.
I know, and I'm picturing this client communication. Chris trapped in Canada.
Exactly.
I want to know, Chris, what you have to do.
Reliable internet connection, secure VPN to our systems, necessary hardware and software for our data to do our work, access to all relevant project files, updated contact information, where what hotel I'm stuck in, project dependencies, backup of data and code, client project data access, detailed knowledge of all active projects, remote work limitations, time zone differences, because where I'm going this weekend is 2 hours off, consistent communication schedule, prioritization of projects, document progress regularly, identify tasks, maintain personal well-being, have to have a healthy remote work routine, and continuously explore operations return to the U.S.
But this is still a checklist of if it does happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to know what you need to do ahead of time. That's the checklist I'm looking for.
Okay.
Like, what's the homework you're supposed to take away to go into your business continuity plan? Because I think that's really where a lot of companies get business continuity planning wrong is, yes, you're planning for what could happen and what you do if it happens, but then you forget there's a stage before that where you actually have to put things together so that if one of those scenarios happens, you can then execute the plan. And that piece often gets missed. So, yeah, it's wonderful to think that I might be unconscious for a month and just sort of live in my life and, dreamland. What information do I need to have ready? And so same for you, Chris. In the event that you are detained somewhere, what information do you have to have ahead of time?
Yep. So for me, ahead of time, proactive knowledge transfer, key data, knowledge sharing sessions, creating training materials, mentorship and skill development, standardized data science processes and workflows, document and standardize all key data science processes, create templates and reusable code snippets for common tasks, version control, project documentation standards, create a run book for critical projects, which is essentially is how things work.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything cloud-based so that people have access to it. Regularly test your remote access tools, project dashboard, and so on and so forth. So those would be the things on my list of things to do to prevent or mitigate the impacts of something like this happening.
We're gonna go ahead, Chris. John.
I was gonna say, I'm dying with the scenario still. Like my list has to have get a team van on it.
Get the Trust Insights mobile.
Right. We have Snake Plissken on speed dial.
But in fairness, one of the things for John is diversify revenue streams and client base so that we're not stuck in one thing that's dependent too heavily on one person. So there's a lot of stuff in here for this planning. We could obviously continue to ask questions of these scenarios over and over again.
No, but I think this is helpful because, the good news is there's nothing on here that I'm like, whoa, we haven't been thinking about that at all, because we are doing a lot of these things already. Because again, I live in that perpetual world of worst case scenario. So I think it's because I worked in such a regulated industry that I've been through all of these trainings before. And I know what it looks like when a critical person steps away and everything comes to a screeching halt. That's one of the things I want to prevent against in our company, but I also want to help our clients prevent against it. And we actually saw this happen with one of our clients. Their analytics person stepped away and everything kind of came to a screeching halt because the way in which he had designed his role, he was the gatekeeper in a black box of everything. And so when that person was no longer in the situation, it took a lot of time to untangle things versus leading with transparency and process and documentation so that somebody could step in and eventually get back up to speed to where things were. And that's really the goal, because depending on where you work, they might say that you're part of the family, it's the culture. Humans are replaceable, unfortunately. I'm replaceable, Chris is replaceable. John, not so much. John's a unicorn. You can't replace him. But Chris and I, we could be out of here tomorrow. And we need to make sure that there are plans in place if in the event something happens and we can't perform our duties, we can figure out what that looks like so that the team, because basically if one person leaves, it's not on them. The rest of the team is the ones left holding this hellish handbasket, trying to figure out what's in it. Like, is it anything I can use? So you want to be able to set people up for success.
Yep. And the smaller your organization is, the more important it is because there's fewer fallbacks, right? So if a person at IBM gets stuck somewhere, there's 299,000 other employees that can, absorb the shock of that one person leaving. When you're a 5-person company or a 4-person company, the impact is much greater.
Right. Any final thoughts, John?
I just can't get over the picture of you and I driving a flaming van over the Canadian border with Chris in back. Just too rich.
All right. We will see you all next time.
Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast and a weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.